Okay, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Am Israel, Shalom Aleichem. Good to see you all again. It's Shabbat. It's daytime. The sun is out. It's still kind of cold here in Northern California, in Oakland, California. Yeah, it's not a sneaky day if you're from here or if you've lived here for a significant amount of time. You are fully aware and or used to days where the sun is out and it's bright and it's shining, but the wind will tear a patch out of you. I am out at the San Leandro Marina at the moment, and I'm sitting from a perspective to where I can see the Oakland airport, and people are taking off going God knows where inside of these winged buses full of people that might be hacking, dripping, sniffing, or coughing. Abba bless them and keep them. The water's here, birds are out. I mean, it's nice. It's been really nice. I had to get out of the house to escape any semblance of cabin fever that may have been creeping in on the edges, okay? Hadn't detected any yet, but just in case. Just warmed up a little bit, so I was able to take off my hat. I still have a fleece on. It's cool enough for it, but I took off a gift hat that my kids bought me a few years ago. My kids, congregational kids, Dr. Dreidel, perfect for Hanukkah. Okay, so this is, once again, a follow-up. This is, if you would, a part 3 to the Why Hebrews, or Why Hebrews series, which I guess at this point it is becoming a series at this point. And the intentional aim of these videos, or of this series of short videos, is to pique the interest of Israel, to pique the interest of you, my brothers and my sisters, in learning the biblical language, classical Hebrew. I love modern Hebrew as well. I listen to a lot of music. I watch a lot of films and X, Y, and Z. Certain people in the community have a certain feeling about modern Hebrew. For me, no disrespect, is neither here nor there. It's a great tool. It is very much related to the biblical Hebrew language. It's not exactly the same, but it's very much related because it relies heavily on classical Hebrew as far as the bulk of its vocabulary words, or words that are used every day. Anyway, that's a different video, and I don't want to go off on a tangent. What I do want to do, however, is tell you that this video will be covering corrupted names. Hebrew names that have been corrupted after translation, into Greek and into Latin and into English, okay? What are the names of these places and these towns? What do they mean? Are they significant? And also, I will touch on the topic of taboo numerology. Taboo numerology, also called gematria, okay, which freaks a lot of people out who claim to be purists. They don't want to deal with anything that seems like it comes from other people or Ashkenazis or da-da-da-da-da. I will show you today that numerology, and as a framework or as a basis, is found in the Brit Hadashah, in the New Testament. Now, what it went on to become, and the ways in which people chose to utilize it later on, that's not the point, okay? But I want to point that out to you. How about a little bit of biblical reading? Okay, so here I always keep, at least in my car, because the pretty black Bible, the big Tanakh. It's a combination Tanakh and Brit Hadashah. It's got the quote-unquote Old and New Testaments together. That one's so pretty and so nice, and it doesn't leave the house. But I always keep a small version also in my car as well. This is a Brit Hadashah produced by the same company that I mentioned to you before. They're found in Jerusalem. It's called HaChevre Lechotevei HaKodesh BeYisrael. It is the brotherhood or the friendship, fellowship of sacred writings in Israel. Okay? And I'm going to read a little bit to you, just a few verses, okay? Edifying verses from the book called Hit Galut, also known as Revelation. Hit Galut, Revelation. One revelation, not revelations. There's one revelation. That's what starts off at the beginning of the chapter, the revelation of Yeshua the Messiah. Okay, da-da-da-da-da, and on and on. All right, but I'm going to read to you a little bit from chapter 15, the first couple of verses, right? John records this. Ra'iti ot acher b'shamayim, and I saw another sign in heaven. Gadol v'mifla. Gadol umafli, Gadol umafli. Great and wondrous. Shiva malachim nosim et sheva hamakot ha'achronot. 7 angels or 7 messengers are carrying the 7 last plagues. Ki bahen nishlam zam Elohim, because in them are completed the wrath of the Most High. Verse 2 says, Ra'iti kmo yam zchuchit, okay, and I saw what was like a sea of glass, me'orev be'esh, mixed with fire, ve'et hamit gabrim al hachaya ve'al tzelma, and those who had overcome the beast and his image. Show you what I'm dealing with here. You thought the other script was tiny. This one is really, really tiny. I need to stop playing and get those glasses. So they'd overcome the beast and over his image, ve'al mispar shma, and over the number of his name. Remember I mentioned Taboo, Numerology, Taboo, Gematria? It's right here in your Brit Chadasha. And over the number of his name, umdim aliyam hazuchuchit. They all were standing on the sea of glass, okay? Kinorot Elohim beyadam, with the menorahs of Elohim in their hands. Vehem sharim et shirat Moshe, and they sang the song of Moses, the song of Moshe, Eved HaElohim, the servant of Elohim, Veshirat HaSelom Lemor, and the song of the Lamb, saying, Gdolim v'niflaim ma'asecha, great and wondrous are your works. Yehovah Elohei Tzivaot, Yehovah, Master of Legions. Tzedek ve'emet darkecha, upright and true are your ways. Melech HaGoyim, King of the nations. Mi lo yirocha, Yehovah, who shall not fear you, Yehovah, velo yiten kavod leshimcha, and who will not give glory to your name. Ki ata levadcha kadosh, because you, levadcha, you alone are holy. Okay? Hen kol hagoyim yavo'u vayishtahu lefanecha. Therefore all the nations will come and prostrate themselves before you, before your presence. Ki niglu mishpete tzedek, because revealed has been the judgments of your righteousness. The judgments of your righteousness. So I'm going to, that's an awesome reading in any language, but especially in ours. I'm going to pull out my wonderful set of pens here again. All right. And I want to talk to you. The first thing is about corrupted names that you would find in your Bible. They only became corrupted because they were translated from the original language into Greek, into Latin, into English, and on and on and on and on. Places that you've heard of, common places that are names that you know of, or you know the corrupted version, in the Tanakh or in the Brit Chadasha. Okay? Let's start with one in particular. How about Beersheba? Beersheba, the town or the city, right? Beersheba. So we have Beersheba. Most people say Beersheba. Beersheba, right? Beersheba. So Be'er means a well. You know, a well, like you dig a well to get water out of. And then it's kind of ironic that the word bor is a hole in Hebrew. And when we drill tunnels or do whatever, we say we are boring a hole. Related? Maybe, maybe not. And Sheva can be a couple of things. It can either be an oath, something that you swear to or pledge to, or it can be the number 7. In this particular case, Beersheba is the well of the oath, okay? It's a pact that was made after digging wells in conflict and whatever. You find this story in the Tanakh. Okay? That's Beersheba. All right, that's cool. How about, we talked about Bethlehem the other day. Bethlehem, the house of bread. The house of bread, Bethlehem. Okay, comprised of 2 words, and there's going to be a few Beths here. So we have Bethlehem. Bethlehem. Bethlehem is the house of bread. Beit Lechem. Okay, the house of bread. It is the town or the city, the small town that Yeshua was born in. House of bread. There's a lot of bread in that house. Substance in that house. Bread of life, the bread that comes down from heaven. Makes perfect sense that Yeshua is born in Bethlehem. Okay, it's also, as I mentioned the other day, smallest among the clans of Judea. Small place called Ephrata. What is it that remains solid throughout the pages of the Bible from cover to cover? Is that Yehovah, the Most High, he always takes that which is debased and low, and he raises it up. He raises it up and he exalts it. Anything that's high and lofty, he brings it down to the ground. How about Bethany? Bethany, right? A town that you often hear about in the New Testament, or in the Brit Chadashah. Bethany. A lot of people name their daughters Bethany. Oh, it sounds really nice. Da-da-da-da-da. Da-da-da-da-da. Well, if they knew what it meant, maybe they would change their mind. So, its uncorrupted form is Beit Anya. Beit Anya. So, just like Bethlehem, when it was corrupted, it was smushed all into one word. You know, Bethlehem became Bethlehem. Okay, Bethany or Betania became Bethany. So Beit, of course, you know, means house of, because this is a smichut or compound word. Beit means house. Aniyah means destitute. It means poor, lowly, and it can also sometimes mean humble, depending on the context. But it's not humble in this case at all. There were 2 Betanias in the Brit Chadashah. There was Betania that was near Jerusalem, and then there was Betania Me'ever HaYarden, Bethany beyond Jordan, right? Betania was the home of Eleazar, or Lazarus, and Mary and Martha. Yeshua spent a lot of time in the places with the lowly and with the destitute. Hint, hint, hint. This is where he spent his time, with people that were downtrodden and people that were marginalized, people that had been put into ghettos, if you would, even in the 1st century. Okay, so that's Bethany, all right, which before it became corrupted was Betania. How about the town where Peter was from, in the Galilee, or in the Galilee? Bethsaida. Okay? Well, how do you write it, Tzadi? I'm going blank here. Okay. I have to ask you how to write it, Tzadi. So, Bethsaida. But Saida, I think they smush it all together again in English. Beit, of course, I don't have to tell you anymore. Beit is house, and because it's compound, it's implying house of. Tsaid. Tsaid is a hunter. A hunter. So Tsaida, Beit Saida, is the house of the hunter. Why would it be called that? Well, if you've ever made a trip over to modern Israel. A lot of the Galilee, I mean, it's exactly like it was way back when. And Bethsaida is heavy, thicket and brush, okay? And it is near the Sea of Galilee, so, there are deer, elk, there are all these type of things that are running around there, right? That are all over the place. So, if you're a big meat guy and a game hunter, this would be the place to live, would be Bethsaida. Speaking of that, how about the place where, a couple more of these, all right? I don't want to make this video, again, too long. I want my staple to be more of shorter videos that can keep a person's attention span and not really run them nuts, okay? How about the place where David HaMelech, king of Israel, went to hide from Shaul, from King Shaul when he wanted to kill him? David HaMelech retreated all the way down from the Judean area, all the way down the Dead Sea, right? All the way down from the Dead Sea. He retreated all the way down to this place. And look at these two words, okay? Ein Gedi, you hear the name of the place, right? You've read the story or you heard it in Sunday school or wherever. Ein Gedi, okay? At least when it corrupted, it didn't corrupt it too bad, and they did keep it into two words, okay? So the first word is ein, which can mean a human eye, right? It can mean a human eye, and it also can mean a well, a spring that comes out of the ground, a spring that water comes out of. Ein. And Gedi is a goat, the little baby goats. What's the English word? The English word, we have a word. It is a type of a goat. It's ibex. Ibex, I-B-E-X. Ibex. They're little teeny tiny goats with the really big horns, big curled horns, right? And Ein Gedi is a spring. The place is called a spring of goats. There's just so many of them. And even today, once again in modern Israel, okay, I was there most recently about this time last year. And they're running everywhere. Sometimes you have to pay attention when you're riding up the highway because they'll come running out all over across the highway and whatnot. Okay, Ein Gedi. They were very plenteous then, so it's called Ein Gedi because it seemed to be a spring spouting out little creatures, good for shish kebab, running around. So this is Ein Gedi, okay? Let's see, how about one more? Capernaum, one of my favorites. And then Jesus retired to Capernaum. You know how you listen to the Bible apps and things like that. Okay, so Capernaum is two words as well. Capernaum is two words as well, but when it became corrupted, they smushed it together into one word, Capernaum. But in reality, Capernaum is literally Kfar Nahum. First word is Kfar, which means village. And again, this is a compound word or a smichut. So therefore, the first word carries a connotation of, whatever the word means, of. Kfar Nahum. Kfar, village of. Nahum or Nahum is mercy. The village of mercy, or the village of Nahum, literally. Remember in Isaiah, it's written, Nahamu Ami, comfort you, my people. Yeshua, the Mashiach, he did the greatest bulk and percentage of his work. This was his home base, Kfar Nahum, okay? He did all, or the greater bulk of his planning, logistics, X, Y, and Z from Kfar Nahum, from the village of compassion or the village of mercy or compassion. Doesn't it make really good sense to you that it would be so, that he would do his work or the bulk of his work? This would be his headquarters, okay? What else can we tie into that? How about the word Nahum, which I told you can mean compassion? More compassion than mercy, but, almost a synonym. Well, there's a few things, like, for example, I had to write myself a couple notes here to remember. Yeshua, okay, said that you would receive another comforter after he was gone, that you would not be left alone, that you would receive a comforter, okay? In the Greek, I think the word is paraklesis or paraklesos, okay? And in Hebrew, it is hamenucha, hamenucha, hamenucha. And Nahum, Menucha, they are the same root word, okay? The comforter, or one who brings comfort, all right? Once Yeshua was gone, he told his Talmidim to wait in Jerusalem for the power to come down, right? And they received that power. Cities you already know. Places like Tiberia, even though it's not a Hebrew word, there's a town right in the Galilee called Tiberia. It's just a is this a word? Probably not, but I'm going to make it anyway. It is the Hebrewization of a non-Hebrew word. So Tiberia is just Tiberius, one of the Roman pontificating murdering monsters, but they just Hebrewized his name. And the town became known as Tiberia, but it's called Tiberias in English. How about, let's see, Caesarea. 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 It's called Caesarea, okay, because it's named after Caesar. Okay, so again, that was just to point out a few places. How about a couple of personal names? Personal names, names that I'm sure that you are familiar with. How about the prophet Eliyahu? Eliyahu Hanavi. Eliyahu. Now, a lot of the prophets had names that included a part of the name of the Most High. In this case, Eliyahu, and I've just highlighted El, which means God. Okay, again, God. Don't get triggered by me saying God. It's just the English equivalent of the word. But Eliyahu literally means Eli, my God is Yahu. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. Eli Yahu. Yahu is my God, or Yahu is my Elohim. That's Eliyahu. I can leave that first part just like that, and we can go from Eliyahu to his contemporary. Remember, he's really upset because Eliyahu is going away. So Eliyahu, he asked for a double portion, and Eliyahu threw down his mantle, right? His mantle, right? So you have this here. Elisha, you know, and in English we'd struggle. We'd have a hard time because some people would say Elijah, Elisha, da 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 da, Elisha, Elisha, or Elisha. Eli means my God. Eli, it's personal. Eli, El is God. Eli, my God. Shah means salvation. Salvation. Okay, it is the root of the name Yeshua. Yeshua, one who would save, or one who saves. Okay, let's see, what else do we have on the short list? How about a couple girls' names, and then we'll move on to the thing that'll get me definitely into some trouble, and that would be the numerology part. The taboo numerology part. Don't touch it. Don't touch it. Run from it. Run from it. How about Bathsheba? Bathsheba, who we call Bathsheba. Right? Bathsheba. So you have Bathsheba. Bat is daughter of. Sheva is an oath. An oath. Okay? Like Beersheba or Beersheba. Bathsheba, she's a daughter. First name, part of her name is daughter of. And the second part of her name has to do with a pledge and or an oath. Boy, I got to roll this one down a little bit. It's hot. A pledge or an oath. And yes, you did hear me crank and handle on my vehicle. I don't have power buttons. I'm frugal, okay? I'm very wise with my pennies. Bathsheba, okay, that's one. Not very different is Elisheva. Elizabeth Elisheva, you know, her name, part of it, my God. And then Sheva is regarding or referring to an oath. Who is the man that Yeshua raised from the dead? Lazarus. Now, see, this is my biggest beef with the corrupting of Hebrew names after they're translated from Hebrew. Here's my biggest beef, is because in that corrupting, they cut out the sacred name. They cut out the name of the Most High. So, his name was Elazar. Elazar. Eliezer Elazar. Elazar. So El, God, Azar, helps or is my help. Elazar, God is my help. Okay, Azar should sound familiar because of Ezra. Ezra with an 9, right? Ezra, the prophet. Okay, his name means help. Literally, plain and simple, his name means help. So, in the corrupting of most of these Hebrew names, especially when it goes into Greek, the sacred name is chopped out of the names of these people. Okay, last part that I'm going to take a look here that's going to get me some interesting comments in the comment box, in the comment section, okay? If you want to cuss me out, be gentle, okay? But my skin is pretty thick, so do your worst. Numerology, or gematria, as it's known, okay, in the Jewish world, in the Ashkenazi world, or the Sfaradim and the Mizrahim, is a system that had been around already for a long time. You heard a little bit about it in the passage from Revelation chapter 15 that I just read. Those who had overcome Hachaya, the beast, and Mispar Shema, and the number of its name. The number of its name, okay? So coding things had been around for a long time, okay, before the rise of European Jewry or anyone else. So any talk of it being something modern is basically foolishness. You heard it here first. Now, again, what it ends up being utilized and used for is something completely different, and I'm not addressing that. I'm just making the statement to you that it was there, okay? So, the number of the beast, Mispar Shema, the number of her name or its name, because a beast, the Hebrew word for a beast, Chaya. It's a feminine name. So the number of the beast and the number of her name or its name, right? Okay, two ways that the ancients during the first century transmitted this. How would you know what the number of the beast is and the number of his name? How would you know? Well, first of all, just like soletreo, which is the Ladino language used by the Portuguese and Spanish Judeans who had been expelled from Spain and Portugal in the 1400s. It was commonplace, you guys, to write either Hebrew words or non-Hebrew words in a phonetic way, okay, with using Hebrew letters. It's no different with the Revelation reference. The Greek word for beast is terion. Okay, if you take tav, resh, vav, and nun, you can effectively spell the word terion. Okay, now what happens when you add the letters to this name? What happens when you do that? Well, again, a lot of you probably already know this, but for those that don't, it's good for food for thought. Tav is worth 400. Resh is worth 200. Vav is worth 6. and Nun is worth 50. So Tav is worth 400. Resh is worth 200. Vav is valued at 6. And Nun is valued at 50. You add these up, you get 666. Oh my gosh. 666. Okay? But that's not it. That's still not the only one. They also transmitted their belief in who the beast was in another way by using the person's proper name. Who was the beast of the first century? I'll put his name and then work the number of his name out right in front of you. Caesar Neron. Caesar Nero. Okay, again, this is not to wow. It's only to inform because, again, this isn't new knowledge. Folks have at least heard of this somewhere, okay? Or let me know if you haven't. Okay, but if you work out the math and the values for each of these letters, here's what you get. Kof is worth 100. Samech is worth 60. And the Resh is worth 200. See that? Kof is 100. Samech is 60. Resh is 200. You have 360 right there. Nun is 50. Okay, Resh is 200 again. Vav is 6. And Nun is 50. So you have 360. You have where is it? Yeah, you have 360 plus 300 on the bottom. And you get 666. 666 again, 666. The number of the beast, the name of the beast, and the number of his name. That's where it comes from, you guys. No hocus pocus, no taboo, no wicked whatever. That's just what it is. So now you might also say, for some of you who are more learned, you might be aware of textual variances in the Greek copies of the Brit Chadashah, the Book of Revelation. Sometimes it's been calculated at 616. 616 instead of 666. It's no big deal. It's still the same thing. Why? Well, by putting the Nun Sofit on the end of the name and making it Neron, this is the proper way of spelling his name, but we're only used to hearing Nero. But if you take away the Nun Sofit and spell it in the improper, non-formal way, you take away 50. That drops it from 666 down to 616. That's it, and that's all. Okay, so I got to let you out of here. Thank you again for joining me in this, mobile version of Why Hebrew, And I hope that something in here was useful, was edifying, and at the very least made you go, that's very interesting. Shabbat Shalom to you guys. It is a beautiful, good-looking day out here. I'm going to take this off of my mount just for a second to show you a little bit of, the piece of the view that I'm looking at right now here by the marina, out by the water, and you can hear the beeping from the key in my ignition. But yeah, it's a good-looking day, as you can see. It's a good-looking day out in the bay. Good-looking day out in the Bay Area. Okay. Shabbat Shalom. Much love to you guys, and I will see you all soon. Bezrat Hashem. Bye-bye.